You should get out of the way, Grandaddy. You'll get hurt and all.
He ain't joking, you should go.
Manners maketh man. Do you know what that means? Then let me teach you a lesson.
The film opens in 1997. A helicopter flies into a compound in the Middle East. 4 men apprehend a terrorist leader and tie him to a chair. One of the men, Harry Hart, aka Galahad, threatens to shoot the terrorist unless he provides answers. The terrorist lifts his head to reveal a grenade pin in his mouth. Harry's comrade, Lee, jumps on the terrorist and covers the explosion, sacrificing himself for his partners. Harry's remaining 2 partners, Merlin and Lancelot, remove their masks. Acknowledging Lee's sacrifice, Harry welcomes Lancelot into the Kingsman agency.
Welcome to Kingsman, Lancelot.
Sir.
Later, Harry visits Lee's wife, Michelle, to inform her of her husband's death. He gives her a Medal of Valor in Lee's honor, with a number on the back in case she ever needs a favor, instructing her to use the phrase "Oxford's not brogues" to identify herself. Michelle rejects the medal. Harry then approaches Lee's young son, Gary, aka Eggsy, and hands him the medal. The scene then shifts to 17 years later in Argentina, where Professor James Arnold is being held captive by a group of thugs. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door. One thug answers it and finds Lancelot standing there. Lancelot shoots the thug and proceeds to fight and kill the rest before pouring himself a drink. Soon, another knock is heard at the door. When Lancelot answers it, he is sliced in half by a woman with bladed prosthetic legs named Gazelle. She then opens the door for her boss, billionaire Richmond Valentine. Valentine and Gazelle free Arnold and take him with them. In London, Harry returns to a tailor shop, which serves as a front for Kingsman's secret headquarters. Kingsman is a private intelligence service founded by British elites who lost their heirs in World War I. There, Harry meets with Merlin and their superior, Arthur. They grieve over Lancelot's death and determine that those responsible for his killing have ties to tragedies in Uganda and Chechnya. The scene then cuts to Eggsy, now in his early 20s. He lives with his mother, her new husband Dean, and his baby half-sister in a rundown flat. They are in a precarious financial situation. Eggsy and 2 friends go to a pub, where they spot Dean's gang. The gang approaches Eggsy's table and threatens him to leave.
You boys have outstayed your welcome. Leave.
Eggsy does, but not before stealing one of the gang members' car keys. He and his friends take the car and perform reckless stunts. When the car's owner comes outside, they speed off, only to be pursued by the police. Eggsy drives backward down several blocks until he crashes into another car. He urges his friends to flee. He then deliberately rams the car into a police vehicle. In the next scene, Eggsy is arrested. A police officer warns him that he could face 18 months in prison unless he reveals his friends' identities. After the officer leaves, Eggsy pulls out the Medal of Valor from around his neck and dials the number on the back. He repeats the phrase "Oxford's not brogues," but the woman on the other end says he has dialed the wrong number. A while later, he is unexpectedly bailed out by Harry. Harry takes Eggsy to a nearby pub, where they encounter Dean's thugs. They insult Harry, calling him Granddad, which makes him furious.
You should get out of the way, Grandaddy. You'll get hurt and all.
He ain't joking, you should go.
Harry calmly walks to the front door, locks it, and says, "Manners maketh man." Using the hook of his umbrella, he snatches a glass and swings it at the gang leader. He then swiftly takes down the rest of the thugs, even making some of them fight each other. His skillful combat leaves Eggsy in awe. Before leaving, Harry makes Eggsy promise not to tell anyone what he just witnessed.
No, please, I won't say nothing, I swear. If there's one thing I can do, it's keep my mouth shut.
You won't tell a soul.
Ask the feds, I've never grossed anyone up.
Is that a promise?
On my life.
Back at home, Dean confronts Eggsy about the stolen car. When Michelle tries to intervene, she is shoved aside, listening in through a microphone planted on Eggsy's shoulder. Harry warns Dean that if he doesn't let Eggsy go, he will report Dean's numerous crimes to the authorities. Harry then instructs Eggsy to meet him at the tailor shop. Intimidated, Dean lets Eggsy leave. Eggsy visits the tailor shop, where Harry offers him a chance to become a Kingsman agent, just like his father. Eggsy accepts, and they travel to a secret underground location, where he meets the other recruits. A girl named Roxy befriends him, while a recruit named Charlie and his friends mock him.
Wait, I think we may have met. Did you serve me at the McDonald's in Winchester service station?
No.
It's definitely St. Andrews.
Meanwhile, Harry encounters Professor Arnold, who has mysteriously been released. When Harry questions him about his captors, Arnold suddenly screams in pain before his head explodes, releasing a strange fluid onto Harry's face. Moments later, two thugs break into the building, forcing Harry to detonate a hand grenade before leaping out a window. Though caught in the explosion, he survives but is left in a coma. When Valentine learns of Arnold's death, he begins investigating who might be interfering with his plans. Later that night, while the recruits are asleep, their room begins to fill with water. Everyone except Eggsy climbs onto the toilet pipes for air. Eggsy tries to open the exit door but fails. Instead, he swims toward a glass panel and punches it until it shatters, releasing the water. Watching from a surveillance room, Merlin acknowledges Eggsy's quick thinking but declares the team failed their task due to a lack of teamwork, resulting in the death of their fellow recruit, Amelia.
Yeah, you can all wipe those smirks off your faces, because as far as I'm concerned, every single one of you has failed.
In another scene, Valentine and Gazelle have dinner with Scandinavian Princess Tilde and the Scandinavian Prime Minister. Valentine presents his plan to combat climate change. The Prime Minister agrees, but Tilde believes Valentine is insane. She storms off and later calls the guards. However, Gazelle intercepts and kills them before kidnapping Tilde. Meanwhile, as part of their training, each Kingsman recruit is given a puppy to personally train. Eggsy receives a tiny pug that refuses to follow his commands. Over time, however, he grows attached to the dog and names it JB. After Harry recovers from his injuries, he, Merlin, and Eggsy investigate further. They discover that Arnold had a chip implanted in his neck, which caused his head to explode. They also notice that the Scandinavian Prime Minister has a similar scar, indicating he, too, has the chip implanted. Merlin concludes that Valentine is behind the operation, as he had met with the Prime Minister just days before. Eggsy then shows Harry and Merlin a video of Valentine's latest event, in which he announces that he will distribute free SIM cards worldwide. They suspect that Valentine is also behind the disappearances of several international leaders and celebrities. Harry goes undercover at Valentine's estate to gather information. Over a dinner of McDonald's, they discuss their admiration for James Bond films. However, Harry learns little, except that one of Valentine's aides is carrying a pamphlet for a radical hate group church in Kentucky. Back at Kingsman training, the recruits face another test. Eggsy, Roxy, Charlie, and a few others must skydive and land on a designated target. As they jump, Merlin informs them that one of them has no parachute. One recruit panics and deploys his chute too early. Eggsy takes charge, ensuring the group sticks together. At the last moment, only he and Roxy remain without chutes. They deploy Roxy's parachute just 300 feet from the ground. Ultimately, only Eggsy, Roxy, and Charlie successfully land on the target, while the others are eliminated. Later, at the Kingsman tailor shop, Eggsy meets with Harry, who leads him into a room filled with high-tech weapons, including a hand grenade disguised as a lighter, a poison-triggering pen, and shoes with poison-tipped blades. The weapons are designed in such a way that no ordinary person would ever suspect them. After that, they discover Valentine and Gazelle waiting for them in the lounge, with Valentine trying on one of the outfits in the shop. For their next assignment, Eggsy, Roxy, and Charlie are sent to a nightclub to charm a young woman. However, as they talk to her, they fall unconscious. Their drinks have been drugged. When Eggsy wakes up, he finds himself strapped to railway tracks. An interrogator tries to force Eggsy to provide information about Kingsman and Harry, but he refuses, even as a train approaches. At the last moment, he is retracted under the tracks, and the train passes over him. When Harry reappears, he is informed that Eggsy and Roxy have passed the test, but Charlie has failed and is sent home.
Is Kingsman really worth dying for?
No, it fucking isn't shit. I'll tell you what you want, please. Just the King is Arthur.
I had such high hopes for you. You're a bloody disgrace.
For their final test, Eggsy and Roxy are ordered to shoot their pet dogs. Eggsy tries but ultimately fails to pull the trigger on his pug, while a gunshot is heard from Roxy's interrogation room. Because he cannot complete the task, Eggsy is dismissed from Kingsman by Arthur. Disappointed, he drives back home in Arthur's car, only for the vehicle to take him directly to Harry's house. There, Harry expresses his disappointment in Eggsy for failing the test and reveals that the gun was never loaded. He also explains that Amelia never drowned. She is actually a member of the Berlin Kingsmen. Meanwhile, Roxy is appointed as a full-fledged Kingsman agent. Shortly afterward, Merlin contacts Harry about a suspicious gathering at a church. Harry travels to Kentucky to investigate. Meanwhile, Valentine and Gazelle observe from a distance, ready to activate a signal affecting those with Valentine's SIM cards. When the signal goes live, everyone in the church, including Harry, is overcome with uncontrollable rage and begins attacking one another. Harry violently fights off anyone who comes at him, using a combination of stabbing, bludgeoning, and explosives until he is the last one standing. Eggsy, Merlin, and Arthur observe everything remotely. Outside the church, Harry is greeted by Valentine and Gazelle. Valentine explains that the signal induces aggression in those who have the implanted chips. He then pulls out a gun and shoots Harry in the head, killing him instantly. Eggsy screams in terror. Eggsy returns to Arthur's tailor shop for a meeting. While discussing Harry's death, Eggsy raises a glass in his honor. However, he notices a scar behind Arthur's ear, revealing that Arthur has sided with Valentine. Valentine's true plan is then unveiled. He intends to use the SIM cards to trigger mass genocide, reducing the world's population to curb climate change. He believes that humanity is a virus, and eliminating most of it will save the planet. Arthur proposes a toast and drinks, but shortly after he attempts to use his pen to activate the poison in Eggsy's drink. However, Eggsy had swapped the glasses while distracting Arthur with the paintings on the wall. Arthur dies from the poison instead. With the information they've gathered, Eggsy, Merlin, and Roxy set out to stop Valentine's plan. Roxy is sent high into the atmosphere using a large balloon to launch a missile at one of Valentine's satellites. Meanwhile, Merlin and Eggsy infiltrate Valentine's headquarters, where he is hosting a lavish party for those participating in his scheme. Eggsy uses Arthur's invitation to gain access. As he moves through the compound, Eggsy passes a cell where Princess Tilde is imprisoned. She promises to reward him with intimacy if he saves the world.
If you get me out right now, I'll give you more than just a kiss.
Roxy reaches the satellite, but one of her balloons ruptures due to the altitude. However, she manages to fire the missile before the second balloon bursts, causing her to plummet back to Earth. At the last second, she successfully deploys her parachute and lands safely. Out of nowhere, Charlie attacks Eggsy, holding a knife to his throat. Eggsy manages to use his Kingsman ring to electrocute Charlie and escape. He rushes back to the plane while fighting off Valentine's gunmen. Meanwhile, the missile hits the satellite, delaying the activation of the signal. However, Valentine switches to a backup satellite and reactivates the signal, which Merlin is unable to disable. Around the world, chaos erupts. People engage in violent fights in London, Rio de Janeiro, and New York. Michelle is seen desperately trying to break into a bathroom to kill her daughter. Eggsy is cornered by gunmen, but Merlin triggers the implants in their necks, causing their heads to explode in a spectacular chain reaction. Eggsy then makes his way to Valentine's command center. He fires at Valentine, distracting him from the biometric scanner and interrupting the signal. Gazelle smashes through the glass and attacks Eggsy. After an intense fight, Eggsy finally defeats her by stabbing her with the poison tip of his shoe. He then removes one of her bladed legs and hurls it at Valentine, impaling him and killing him instantly. With Valentine's death, the signal is permanently disabled. Eggsy is congratulated by Merlin and Roxy for saving the world. He then returns to Princess Tilda's cell with a bottle of champagne, ready to claim his promised reward. Before the credits roll, Michelle and Dean are seen in a pub. Eggsy walks in, now dressed in an elegant suit, and informs Michelle that his new job provides him with many privileges, including a new home for her and his baby sister. When Dean's thugs try to intimidate Eggsy again, he calmly locks the pub door and says, "Manners maketh man," just as Harry once did. Using his umbrella, he hooks a glass and hurls it at Dean's face as the movie ends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the next video.